Hello fellow crafters, Janine here, and today I'm going to be showing you how I made these beautiful trivets to give as Christmas gifts. Of course, personalized in this way, they could be a birthday present, they could be an anniversary present, they could be a just because present, a Mother's Day present. I mean, pretty much any occasion you can make and give this very inexpensively. I got these tiles, they're 6x6 tiles, and I got them in a set of 4 at my local hardware store for around $5. So they were about $1.25 each. And then the paints, I only used 2 colors of paints, and it's these enamels paint by Folk Art, which are the kind that you bake onto a porcelain or ceramic surface, and it permanently adheres. But those are about $2 a piece. So for let's see, about $1.25 a tile, and then $4 in paint. For a little over $5, you can make a beautiful handmade present. And then to finish it off and make it even more usable as a trivet, I just adhered these felt pads onto the back of them, and this big pack of felt pads, self-adhesive felt pads, was only $1 from the dollar store. So you have a beautiful handmade and what looks like expensive gift for under $5. So if you'd like to see how I did this, stay tuned. Okay, I cut some fleur-de-lis stencils out of clear contact paper on my Cricut. And again, I'm using the negative space instead of the center part, which is normally what you would use from a die cut, would be the part that you cut out. But I'm actually using the negative space left behind as a stencil. And it is a little fidgety to get it started and get it stuck down, but just be patient and do your best to get it in place. Once I had all 4 fleur-de-lis in place, and I painted 2 of them in black and 2 in gold. You do have to cut separate stencils for each one, because these stencils would be very difficult to reuse from one project to the next because of the light weight of the contact paper. But you get such a nice amount in a roll of contact paper, it's really not such a big deal to have a different stencil for each project. And you can see when we pull it up, it just really does leave a beautiful image behind. With this paint, you do have to peel it up while the paint's wet. If you wait till it dries, the paint will come up with the stencil. So you do have to work kind of quickly and make sure you get a good coverage on your first coat, because there's really not going to be a second chance for a second coat. And after I got the second tile done in black, then you can see I put on a very, very thick layer of the gold paint, because the gold in this particular brand is not very opaque. So I did have to put down a very, very heavy first layer in order to have a good opaque coverage of paint, because again, there's no opportunity for a second layer of paint with this paint, because the stencil does have to come up while the paint's still wet. So you can see I just dab on very thick coat. It does leave it textured, and there's really not much you can do about that when having to do this method. But it's okay in my opinion, because I like the textured look. I think it looks cool. I think it just adds to the interest, particularly on these tumbled tiles, because they already kind of have a pitted and marked look. So to me, that textured paint really just adds to that rustic look of the project. And now the big reveal again. This is my favorite part, peeling the stencil up and seeing the beautiful image underneath. So far things look like they're going pretty good, but they go awry. You can see that one of the black, where I did the black fleur-de-lis, I ended up having to try and remove the paint from it, which you can see did not go real well because I messed up when I did the initial. And now I'm working on this one with the gold fleur-de-lis, and I'm having a problem again because I forgot to put the center part of the A down. So it will just look like a triangle without that center part. And you can see I'm trying to correct the situation by wiping up some of the paint to clean a place for the center part of the A, which I still proceeded with because I had hopes. I thought maybe I would be able to pull it off and it would look okay, even with that little bit of darker background. But as you can see here in a little bit, it really just doesn't look okay. But I continue to put the paint on to try and salvage the project. Yeah, sometimes in crafting things don't go as you plan, and the best you can do is improvise. In this case, I ended up having to walk away from it for a little bit because I was frustrated and I was impatient with it, and so I ended up just having to walk away and think about it a little bit, you know, because I didn't want to just completely scrap these tiles, but I wasn't really sure what to do to salvage the situation. But once I walked away and came back, I had another solution to it. And right now things look like they're going okay, but then when you can see when I pull the center part of that A up, you can see that things just don't look right. It just doesn't look good. Some of the paint seeped out from the top edge of the A, and then of course that dark part in the center, it just looked really bad. But I went on with the other two tiles while I was thinking about how to fix the two that I had problems with. But these next two tiles did not do bad. Again, with the gold, I'm putting down a very thick layer of the gold paint and working very quickly because I don't want to give it any drying time, so that when I pull the stencil up, it comes up beautifully and clean. And this one did come out much better than the first one I had tried with the black fleur-de-lis. And now it's time for the big reveal, and you can see this one came out so much better. When I remember to put the middle part of the A in place at the proper moment, things come out perfectly. When you put it in before you put the paint down is ideal, obviously. But you can see as I pull it up, this A looks so much better and so much cleaner and neater than the one above it. So what to do with this tile? Well, at this point I had finally decided that I was just going to paint over both of those tiles. I was going to paint over this one with the gold paint. And I wished I had let the black paint dry a little bit longer before I fooled with it, but it is what it is, and I just moved on with it, put down a pretty good first coat, and then came back with a second coat after that one had dried a little bit. And it did end up completely covering the paint underneath it, but as you'll see here in a few minutes, still had problems with it, and don't know that it's going to be salvageable in the condition it's in, besides painting over it again with another coat of some other paint. But for this particular project, I just don't think it's going to end up working out. But I still tried to salvage it, not just completely scrap it. And then I put another A over the gold tile and came back with the black paint and again patted it on very quickly. And of course remember to put the middle part of the A down this time. And this one did come out much better. Again, the problems I had with it were in the oven. Had it baked well, this one would have been beautiful and salvageable as well. Here I'm taking my pokey tool again and pulling the center part of the A out. And it looks beautiful, and had it baked well, it would have been perfect. And I decided they needed just a little bit more, so I cut some fleur-de-lis out much smaller. I just shrank them on my Cricut design software. Just shrank the size of that same fleur-de-lis into a smaller one and cut it out again with some clear contact paper in my Cricut. And that looks beautiful, and again had it baked well. And my camera's about to die, so I'll see you when these come out of the oven. Okay, so I took these out of the oven. They're completely cooled off, cold to the touch, and 3 of them just came out beautiful. And as you can see, the one with the gold paint just wasn't having it, and I think I know what happened. These are tumbled tiles, which means they're very pitted and marked and have deep little pits in them. And because you have to put this gold paint on fairly thick in order to get a opaque coverage, I think it trapped little air pockets in all of the little pits, and those air pockets started coming up when the tile was baking and caused bubbling. And I don't think it was an issue on this one because it's a very thin layer of paint that allowed those little pits to still breathe, whereas this gold paint did not allow those little pits to still breathe, and that's what caused the bubbling. So you can see how it turned out, and honestly, you know, there's just big flakes of the paint coming off where those bubbles, that bubbling occurred, and I just don't see any way to salvage this tile. Don't really know what I'm going to do with it, honestly, but I just honestly don't see a way to salvage it. That's okay, because one of these tiles is a beautiful gift. A set of 2 would have been more ideal in my opinion, but even one tile is a beautiful gift. You can see the 2 Ys came out beautiful. I did have like just a couple of small bubbles on the gold paint on this one, but it's not wanting to flake off, so I think it's going to be fine. And then the gold paint on these 2 is just fine, but I think it's because it wasn't nearly as thick as this one here. So, in order to really utilize these as trivets, we need to put something on the back of them so that they will not scratch tabletop surface, because the back of them is still, you know, pretty, even the top is pretty rough, but the top has a little bit of a finish on it, so it's not as rough, but the back does not, so it's very rough. So I'm just going to take these self-adhesive felt pads and just put one at the corner, at each corner of each tile. And now it can function quite well as a trivet, and it raises it from the tabletop so that it doesn't heat the tabletop as much, and it also protects it from scratching. So if you enjoyed this project, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. As always, thank you for being here, and you have a very blessed day.